Not touchable. It's just, oh, Anna, yes. 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 Oh, actually, she's gonna look at.
Okay.
The little things.
It's 5:15. We'll call the meeting to order and then,
Sure. Mayor Sean Reardon. City Council President Ed Cameron. James Conley.
Here.
Karen Cullinan. Kristen Donahue. Gary Gorski.
Here.
Christian Hansen.
Here.
Sarah Holden.
Here.
Caroline McCarthy.
Here.
Stephen Moore.
Here.
Sarah Spalding.
Here.
Madeline Witten.
And then we have any public comments?
Introduce yourself first.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm Anna McLaughlin. I work here at the library. I'm also the rep for the Crescent region. And I'm happy to say that, yes, on 16th of December, the council members voted to accept the contract, and we now have a contract. Of course, we're going to need to review it and get all the signatures on it, but we're all very happy. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew. So thank you very much for all your support and everything you do.
You get a raise?
And Merry Christmas.
Don't you get a raise? So then, you know, copy I had previous minutes has some questions on it. I don't know if this guy was on about couple of different things. Anything else included in the section? I know, I'm sure Gary sent in his corrections.
That's not my question, but I have minor grammatical edits. I'm not sure what exactly. You asked me about. Oh, there were some, I saved the changes, the document that you had originally sent had changes.
Oh, okay.
So I just accepted all of those.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm not sure maybe that's what you're talking about.
Well, I went to the new business, the copy I have, number 7. Is there anything included in this section? It's a question.
Oh,
That was part of the tracks.
yeah, that was part of the tracking changes.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a motion to accept the minutes. Amended by Gary.
So moved.
All in favor? Roll call.
Yeah.
All in favor, please? Accept it. Next meeting is going to be December 18th.
Next meeting is January 15th.
I think you did.
Maybe-
I think you have the other.
Oh, you know what? So then, the next meeting is going to be on January 15th. And was there a discussion you want to have about changing the time for that?
That's under new business, and I'd like to wait till Ed arrives,
Oh, okay,
because he's the one who made the request.
sure. Okay. And then I don't know if we have any update in the council investigation.
What I just wanted to indicate or let you all know that the investigator has interviewed 2 staff members. My interview was scheduled, but then was canceled. Waiting for it to be rescheduled, so I'm not sure when that will happen. But I was also in consultation with Sarah Spadafora, the labor attorney with the law firm that represents the city. She indicated there's not a lot that I could contribute. But there's some, procedural questions and other things that she might want to ask. But again, I will only be able to answer them if I have an interview rescheduled. So we're just waiting for a final report or for my interview to be scheduled.
Are these telephone interviews?
They're on Zoom.
Is that the end of the interviews, you think?
To be honest, all I know is what I was communicated, and really not really sure. Even the labor attorney was not sure where the investigator was. She could only speculate based on who she's interviewing. So,
Okay, thank you. Do we have new business?
I'm going to request that we hold off on the discussion to modify the board meeting start time. The requester was Ed Cameron, and he is on his way.
To talk about the David McPhail.
Yes, I would love to talk about the David McPhail donation. I actually had the opportunity to meet David McPhail today. David, if you're unfamiliar with David McPhail is a Newburyport native who is a critically acclaimed children's book author and illustrator, New York Times bestseller list, Caldecott Newbery Award winner, has either illustrated or written and illustrated over 200 children's books, and is still publishing, and he's in his mid-80s. He came today. Actually, he approached me back in September, and this is the most wonderful. I've never had a note with original artwork on it. He drew some of his characters on the note, and he expressed the desire to have the library house what is considered by his family as Rachel's book collection. Rachel Coffin Cutter McPhail is David McPhail's mother. Whenever David McPhail published or illustrated a book, the very first copy was always given to his mother and signed, and with a little note. And she guarded those books under lock. They never left the house. Grandkids, children, etc., could come and read the books. But he told me a funny story where he was going to a new publisher, and the publisher wanted to look at some of his books. And he said, "Oh, I'll just ask my mother for a couple copies." And she said, "No." So we actually now have in possession over 150 of the 200 plus books that he illustrated or published. And I just want to grab it here just so you can see. Yes. What's going to happen is we're going to create a collection in archives. And Dana's going to organize, do an inventory, create a finding aid that gives like biographical information about David McPhail, information about the family, a kind of an understanding of the importance of David McPhail in the literary world. So if researchers, not just historical, but literary researchers who may be doing an author study, or will be able to look at 75% of his published catalog all in one place. And these books will stay in archives. They won't be circulating because, as David McPhail agreed, felt it was important that these be able to be available for generations to come. And as anyone who knows the love that children's books get by children, they would not last very long. So They will be housed downstairs in archives, properly preserved, kept together in one location. So that, you know, some of these books are out of print, you can't even get them. So we're going to be one of very few places in the world that will have this concentration of his work in one place, which will be a, you know, a wonderful draw for, you know, children's literature researchers, et cetera. So, I mean, it's a wonderful, you know, donation for, you know, that it's important for the city because of who he is and where, you know, where he's from. His family has a lot of ties to the area. His mother is a cutter, and the cutters are very, very involved in public safety in the city of Newburyport. The brand new police station is named after, I think, his uncle. So there's a lot of connections. So this is very important. Because of the importance of this donation, Dana and I talked about the possibility of having a public exhibition. We're going to make sure that the collection is all organized and we have all the information out. We're going to do an exhibition in this room. It'll be a 2 to 3 day kind of thing, open to the public, to be able to see, touch, you know, get a sense for the collection. David McPhail has agreed, very excited to come do a reading. He'll do Q&A. He'll be available to kind of, you know, be here for one of those days. It's kind of thing where you invite, you know, local dignitaries, you know, the city council, the mayor, all of you, his family. I've talked to the mayor, and the mayor agrees that this is definitely a proclamation-worthy event. You know, when we have the date, that will be honorarily the David McPhail Day in Newburyport, and there he will get a, you know, citation from the city. So,
Jeff, that we have to move it during the literary festival.
going to do it in the spring. I'm not sure. The literary festival does use this space. So to have the exhibition during the literary festival would, since we'd want to do it on a weekend day, we'll probably do it as separate from the literary festival. There's too many logistics of the literary festival using our space and having the exhibition at the same time.
So these books will be housed down.
Yes.
Does that mean we have to move out books? Or
Nope. Nope. Dana's going to be able to house them.
So we don't have any accession questions.
No. No, these books will be in the collection as long as they are physically able to exist. As long as this, you know, we have the archives set up.
So you said we have 75%
Of his total catalog to this day. The problem was when his mother had everything. When his mother passed away, the entire collection went to David McPhail, and he apologized. He said, hindsight being 2020, I would have donated the entire collection, but he gave away copies of books to, you know, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, etc. So he apologized that we are not getting 100% of the collection, but he and I agree, 75% is a very good percentage of that. And they're all, I mean, there's none that are worse for wear. Maybe some of the book covers are a little, you know, worn or torn, but like I said, his mother guarded them under lock and key, so they're in overall wonderful condition, and they're all signed.
Where do we-
He currently lives in Portsmouth. Hi, Kristen. How are you? We were just discussing the David McPhail donation, and we're kind of shifting the agenda a little bit. But, sorry, Christian, what was your? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions regarding? Okay,
Should we delay the discussion of security cameras?
yes, that might be helpful. We can always go back.
And you have communications now,
There are no communications to submit.
you're going to give us
Head librarian report, yes. Okay, all right. Beginning next month is the FY '26 budget season. We'll have the kickoff meeting for that, all the department heads with the mayor on January 8th. That's when we'll get our marching orders from Ethan Manning regarding what we can expect to or not ask for in terms of percentages, et cetera. As Ethan is fully aware of the library's unique budgeting situation, and that we have to meet certain amounts and certain percentages in different areas. So I don't have to explain that to Ethan, which is nice. The mayor as well. He's gotten quite used to the library's budgetary requirements from the state. So we'll be working to develop the budget, and also with alongside of that, the capital improvement plan, our capital improvement projects. Kim Turner and Ethan for the capital improvement projects, which takes into a number of factors, but what it will help do is enable the mayor to have a quantifiable reason why he puts a project at a certain priority. So when he presents the capital improvement plan to city council, he can explain why projects are in the plan. I'm working very hard to make sure that the HVAC project has a very high rating. But again, it's a capital improvement plan. Each of the projects has to be approved by city council. But I'm going through all of the capital improvement projects that have been in previous plans and putting them through that rating system so that they will, hopefully be under consideration. But right now, the highest priority one is the HVAC system. Yes.
Can you do the rating, or does Kim do the rating, or?
I do a run through and get feedback from Kim and Ethan, and then I resubmit it. So they're because this is new, they want to work with each of the department heads to make sure that the ratings actually make sense, and the scores that we're giving for particular factors make sense.
What are some of the big influencers on the priority,
Other
than like safety?
Well, there's cost of the project, external funding. There's sustainability, whether it applies to the master plan, the city's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. So those are some of the the areas that are put into play in terms of rating the projects.
Okay, so is there another level of, if it's HVAC, obviously it's comfort and environmental,
Also effect on
Quality.
operations.
so operations is
Yeah.
a separate thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The plan meets a lot of it scores pretty well on a lot of the areas because it does impact health and safety. It's in preparation for potential environmental codes that could be put in place in the future. Environmental and sustainability score is very high because it's talking about making the system is very unenvironmentally friendly. The library building has the highest energy use density of any city building. So we use a lot more energy per square footage than any other city building. So there's a lot of things that need to be looked at in terms of our energy use. So there's a lot of those factors are coming into play. So.
Or is it just, it needs to be done next couple?
The wording that the recommissioners, evaluators are giving is nearing end of life. So over the years, various components have been, pardon my expression, duct taped together, MacGyvered to continue working. And it's gone to the point where those fixes are no longer keeping the system efficient and effective and doing what it needs to do.
Is there no other way to pay for it other than?
Right now, I don't know the cost, so I can't say. The city, there was talk of using green communities. Unfortunately, I think the city has kind of already used a lot of that, its capacity for green communities grants. But grant funding is always a possibility. There's always a possibility of using funding that the library gets, as well as funding from the city. So it'll be a lot of probably cobbling together of a lot of different funding sources.
Is to be able to take advantage of mass save, as a homeowner, you get them to come in and do an audit, and they'll come in and do all sorts of stuff for.
Well, I will say that if the person who would know if we were qualified for anything at all would be Molly Ettenborough, and she has been intimately involved in this process.
When they estimate the systems, they usually put the rebate number right in there.
Yeah.
So anything more efficient is going to get mistakes, although some of them are expiring at the end of the year.
Yeah, so the team that's involved in this is a really good team. The fact that we have Kim Turner overseeing this whole process, and the head of sustainability is involved in this, as well as DPS and and facilities, and it's a good team. So it's the proposal put before City Council is going to be very robust, which was not the case last year. We had old information, out of date information. So this is going to bring it right up to date. So I'm confident that what is brought before City Council will be a lot of good, relevant information. Hi, Ed. That's okay. Jim, can we move back to I think, Ed, you have a very good argument for a discussion of modifying the start time.
Yeah, I don't know when the time was set for, so it's on Wednesday, 5:15, and I just wondered, that was done at the time where that time did work for most people. Obviously, it doesn't operate for me either. Remotely, it's easier to do, but in person, it took me a while to get back to Boston. I did have to go today. So I don't know if that was something
That was done actually to accommodate one particular person. Said that worked for him. So they said, okay, there's no magic to it.
So
I didn't want to interfere with my team.
Martini time, yes. So I don't know if there's any, maybe Kevin could send something up just to see if there are times that work for people. And I know
What works for you?
Later?
A little later, yeah, I know, we schedule a lot of meetings on city council, and obviously, I'm sure we all do in our own work lives as well, and there's all, I like later, I like earlier. Yeah, this 5:15 is just, as far as six is probably better. And, I don't know about that. Wednesdays are sometimes difficult for me, summer, so I don't know if there's some interest in Tuesday at 6 o'clock or 6:30.
But some people, we don't meet in the summer. Yeah, that's right, we take off for the summer.
Last year was an anomaly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I apologize because I'm in my head today, the meeting started at 5:30, so I was late too, so I'm sorry. So later's better for me.
Wednesday, work at the summer,
Yeah, maybe Wednesday at 6. That's,
changing the days.
or, and sometimes that, people have their dinner time kind of. I know it on city council, we've done it earlier, it used to be like we started, for our general meeting, which happens many times a year, it used to be 7:30, and we bumped that to 7 now. A lot of our community meetings, 30 is the way they start, so but again, I wouldn't let me drive it, but 6 would definitely.
Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Is that an issue? So I know somebody had to leave early. A couple of times. Childcare.
Earlier the better, but still accommodates that, I would say.
I like 6 is good. I like 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
And I'll give one more caveat. I'm city council president today. That's a year by year thing. So if my colleagues get to choose again in January, I am interested in that. But I think I'm One question council meeting, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe somebody else. That sounds fair. I'll prioritize January. Be on time for that. Yeah.
No, I have no problem with 6, but I think it probably makes sense, so.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any issues with 6 o'clock? I don't think we need to vote on it. You want to vote?
It would be good to get it.
Okay.
No, I was
So I make a motion to change the meeting time to 6 o'clock.
Second.
All in favor?
Sarah.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Start in January? Well,
Yeah.
when you want to start.
Sorry. Okay.
And then there's the second thing that got delayed, a little bit, discussion, review the city council discussions.
Sure. I don't know if that is a discussion on it.
No, not yet.
Yeah, I think that was a good idea for Kevin to have city councilors kind of visit, and I know that's a process that we've got at least 2 people later this week.
I'll have a total of 6 by Friday.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's not a concern particular to the library, and I'm going to paraphrase this conversation I've heard. I've been to some of the committee meetings about it, but not the one that touched on the library. But years ago, in the sort of pre-internet era, where cameras were ubiquitous, the city council did pass 2008 or so. The police wanted to put a couple of outdoor cameras that they could monitor parts of downtown, Market Square Institute, and somewhere else. And, at the time, the city council approved that, but we put a thing, if there are any other municipal cameras, they should be approved by the city council. And again, this is kind of ancient times. Cameras were not nearly as ubiquitous as they are now. The city had some funding, and I think in response to staff concerns from a whole bunch of departments. We know the school committee runs the schools with the superintendent, and those are kind of a different animal, but they came before the council we had to agree for them to accept a grant from some My understanding is, and the mayor would be a little closer to this than me, but, just staff in general, different departments concerned about irate people perhaps or potential dangerous situations. I don't think there's been some training. The library's been a part of that. I've seen some discussion of that, but when it came to the council, with an expenditure of several $100,000, committee chair, Councilman McCauley, had public works and safety. That's kind of where it resides. Really had a lot of the departments to kind of go over the specifics, because some of it, there was I can't remember what we ended up voting on at the moment, but there was concern that if there's a camera over a desk where the public comes and interacts with a certain department, it could be the assessor, it could be the department sewer, it could be the treasurer's office, the clerk's office, is it going to be kind of monitoring those very personal conversations about taxes or dog listings or whatever. And then the library obviously is a sort of a different scenario where you are more open to the public, and I don't be factored in. So I don't know exactly where it lies in the committee now, but I think again having council here, councilors here visiting, but that's sort of where we're at. So it's a bit of a civil rights, what you say, kind of balance. That's sort of
I shared with all of you the information that was put together for each council member. Those that come in person get a paper copy, and everyone got an electronic copy. I also, on the suggestion of Councilor Khan, had all 35 other libraries of the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium. I contacted them and got information about their use of security cameras, who has access to the feed, who has control, the type, whether they have access to live and or recorded footage. And it was very, very interesting. I wasn't surprised by the information that I got that 19 of the 36 libraries have security cameras. About 66% of those that have them, both library staff and or the police have control of who has access to the feeds. Of the 14 libraries that said didn't, 75% of them, about 10 of the 14, were communities that had populations less than 10,000. So very smaller libraries. So it was Boxford being one of them, and intimately aware of their security issues. There was conversation about having security cameras, but we never had them installed. Police station is 100 yards away, so different situations. But it was a good exercise. Councilor Khan was very appreciative that we did the research and sent that out to. So one of the few things that as I was going around the building and doing this assessment to put together the information, I identified some other security issues that were not apparent to me. That none of our emergency doors are alarmed. None of the access points to the emergency stairs are alarmed. Well, let me clarify. None of the access doors to the emergency stairs are the alarmed components working, and have not worked for over a decade.
So does that mean you can walk out the back door?
Yes, that means from the children's room, a child, if they were adventurous enough, could leave the library without their parent ever knowing, and we'd be none the wiser.
And somebody could prop the door open.
Yep. Someone could easily, if they were enterprising enough, grab one of our computers and walk out, because they're surprisingly, a vast majority of the building is not under camera coverage. I would say the book stacks are impossible to camera coverage unless you literally had a camera at the end of each row. We have a camera in just like in hallways and outside of bathrooms, because as I was unaware of this, but as Councilor Colley explained, the cameras were put outside of the bathrooms because they were installed because of issues with the opioid crisis. And there were issues with people, either selling and or using in the bathrooms. So some of the rationale for our cameras has changed, but that are new that, that the staff and I feel that they're important, that we have cameras in the building and access to them. Actually, I put the question to Ed about, do you think it's a good idea to, and I was very happy when he was like, oh yes, I think it's a very good idea to have the counselors come in. A lot of them, I mean, they've been leaving with a greater understanding of the building, of its security issues that would be exacerbated by the removal of access to the cameras. So, and it's been a good eye-opening experience, I think, for some of the counselors who don't spend a lot of time in this building to understand its complexity, to understand that it's 40,000 square feet. And that 40,000 square feet is not all open, a big box. It's lots of little hallways and hidey spaces and little nooks and crannies that people can hide and stay in the building. Without the cameras, it would be hard for us to make sure that everyone's left the building. So for that perspective, it was a very good exercise for me to really do an in-depth dive into just what's going on in the building. And the councils agree that, when I was explaining about none of the emergency exits and the emergency stairways, they're like, yeah, we need to address that. And there was even discussion of, well, maybe we need to add more cameras or put them in different places to address some of those safety and security issues. So it's a lot of it with, as we were discussing it, it's not just about who's got access and how is it being used, but how could the library be more safe and secure? So having these discussions with the city councils was a very good opportunity. I'm glad we took advantage of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
In addition to other concerns, is there any, and I know this is a municipal insurance coverage, but is there insurance benefit to having cameras? Is there a financial incentive to keep cameras for that?
Well, from an asset protection, asset management and loss prevention perspective, the cameras do have a role to play in 2 rooms where we have somewhat irreplaceable items. In the director's room, all that furniture is all period, real antique, not reproductions. In archives, a lot of the materials are irreplaceable. So from an asset management perspective, having the cameras in those areas do help the library maintain and keep those assets safe, or at least be able to identify who might have taken or damaged or destroyed. So from that perspective, yes. Everything in this building is under the city's liability insurance, from what I understand. All people and things.
Don't we have to pay separately insured?
That I do.
They just be covered by the city insurance.
As far as we know, yes.
They're considered property.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So is the council or the city's inquiry about this, is it about access? Is it about trying to make the city safer? What was the original?
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry, not as prepared as I think for sure. And they're kind of going department by department, just to prove something like the fire department. somewhat it is, yeah, I think there's a preference for not just, any library employee or, city hall employee can just go to their department, like look up who was coming in here. I think that, that committee sort of, some feedback from employees as well, if they can use like monitor, paid monitor my work. So I think it's a bit of that. Live feed versus report, like who has access to the recordings, so you can kind of watch the live feed. And also, so I think that's sort of where it's going. And again, the kind of running through it, sort of department functional area by functional area. Yeah, I will say, separate from that, I mean, the issue of safety and security is, cameras can give people some psychological comfort, but it also has to be complemented by staff training and policies that, maybe somebody at the end of the night is like checking. I don't even know if that's security around or can be at all.
We do not have security in the building.
But somebody, had a camera signed off at 9:06, that won't do it for a while. Do that such a thing, But you don't want people, and staff anywhere in any location in the world, like, oh, we're looking at the cameras to keep an eye on. You've got to be watching. Come out, you've got to be engaged with the patrons, whatever kind of building that you're in. And, I mean, there's, staff training. There's no substitute for that. My day job, working at Pine Street Inn, which I'm sporting my police jacket now. That are all over Boston. We have a subcontract from the Boston Public Library or mental health clinician who is mostly stationed at the central branch. And, so we're dealing with lots of, I have no idea how that library does. They've got a big security force. We do a lot of cameras, always calling us about people that they want us to see. But for our staff, they're very well trained on crisis de-escalation, calling for help. Calling 911 is often the best response you can do is keep yourself safe. So it's a combination of a lot of things that I think are place to agree.
So for now, our task is to just respond to the inquiries on the. Is there anything more that?
I can check in. I don't know. Have you heard from any Councilor McCauley, the chair of that?
When he came for his site visit, we did discuss, we didn't talk about next steps. He did indicate that, as we're, when it's kind of the library's turn for the deep dive in with the council, to really be transparent about, how is the system used? What do we use it for? What are the things that we're watching? If we do use the live feed, how do we use it? And so so that it's really about a conversation about, this is how we use, the library is a unique situation. This is how we use it. This is how we, it functions, and, to kind of move from there, So I think it's more of, also he was very, and the other councils again were, make sure the city council understands all of the safety and security issues, and so that it can be part of a global thing, not just about cameras.
Would it be worthwhile, maybe not just library, but the city has the expert? So this is what you do.
Yeah, there has been some consulting over time, but I'll check in with him.
Yeah.
I mean, you wandering around and uncovering some of these things is not the same as
No.
someone whose job it is.
Exactly. I'm a librarian. I'm not a security expert. So, but I think it's been a good process. It's been a very collaborative process, and I think it's good, the opportunities I've had to interact with city council members. So.
Any other comments on the cameras?
All right. Okay, moving on. All right, in November, the library visited 460 people. That is, the total number is down. But what I did is I checked, and that's about 45 people per hour. And that is the average that we have on a monthly basis. So in terms of busyness, although the number is lower because of holidays and days that we're closed, we're actually as busy in November as we were on an average month. And circulation is also a bit lower, again, just because when people don't come in the building, they don't borrow as many items. But we're, in terms of the state, the FY averages, we're still within a respectable, amount. When you look at the circulation trends, we on the chart, FY 25 is the green line, and as you were reviewing it, the green line was actually above last year's. So every month so far, we've been above the circulating level of last year. So again, if that's been the trend so far, as we come out of the, fully out of the pandemic, we've been showing an actual increase in circulation for each year. Where most libraries have been plateauing, our circulation continues to increase. All right, any questions about our attendance or circulation for?
Let's look at the conference centers. Sure. Just looking, this 3, 4, and 5, it's like we're losing 40% of the visitors year over year. Is there an explanation for that?
All I can say is that there's consistent quality service down there. I cannot talk to the ways in which the statistics were kept prior to my tenure. All I know is that the statistics that are being kept now are actually counting researchers, and just the researchers that walk through the door, as they're a subset of the visitors that come through the front door. It's not that people aren't coming in to do research. It's just we're counting researchers that walk in the door.
And that's not apples to apples comparison.
No.
And when did it change in counting?
Last November. I think we were actually in October. Yeah.
So FY 25 would cover from until.
I'm sorry.
FY 25.
From FY 25 covers from July of this year to June 30th of FY 25. I mean, calendar year 25.
So even a 50% loss of this year from last month to the average for this.
We haven't. There's been no change in the level of marketing and or advertising of services since I've been here, or even prior. So it's not that we're not advertising the same way that we have in the past. It's just right now I can only say that people are coming through the door. They're getting consistent quality service, and I guess the only thing I could recommend is that maybe we increase the marketing for our services. That has not been something that has been done in the past. So I guess it would just be something that we would have to try out new. I can't address people who may have come in the past who choose not to come now. We have a quality, certified, educated, and experienced person providing great service down there. And the people that come down there, praise her for the work that she does.
That's a couple of questions. So yeah, just in terms of the fiscal year average, so as you said, so far fiscal year 25, we're 5 months into it. But so the previous year's averages, is that for the whole year or is that as of November? I imagine it's for the whole year.
The previous years, it's the 12-month
For the
average.
whole-
Yes.
Right, so the FY 25 average, even though it's only 5 months, it's got some summer months in it. Got some fall
Yes,
months
it's
in it,
got-
it's got
It started on July 1.
winter months, which is probably really-
Yeah.
And if somebody was, if I'm at Cameron and I'm a researcher and I come in 20 days of the month, I'm counted.
You're counted every time you come in the door.
So-
Yeah.
So the FY 19 average is very interesting. That's 100.
Mhm.
Different. On 30 days, it's a couple of people coming in a day. Yeah, people that, have been assistant researchers in the past aren't coming, like one or two people not coming, but really do it, so.
I've been told that there were, that everyone that walked in the door was counted prior to my tenure. Phone calls were counted, emails were counted. So it's a different counting system. So it's counting the actual people that come through the door to do research. Prior, it was if a staff person walked in the door, they were counted. If a volunteer walks through the door, they were counted. If a researcher walked in the door, they were counted.
I think it would, to get to the marketing piece, I think it would be a good thing to market. I took the tour myself of the various departments a few months ago, and I'm on the board of directors.
Yeah.
Regularly as I used to, but there's times when I have more time, free time, and I was here all the time. But I learned a bunch of things, and I whether it's marketing, open houses, or something for the newspaper, social media, things you can do. Make it a little less intimidating. I know I always, years ago would feel like, well, I don't want to go downstairs and like I'm at that. Why am I here? I just want to kind of poke around.
Yeah.
Look out a couple of times.
Yeah.
Kind of demystify and just remind people what a great resource is.
Right. That actually what you're suggesting is part of our action plan for FY 26. So we are going to be addressing it. So, yeah, but thank you for bringing that up. I just want to reiterate that the way in which we're collecting statistics in archives is industry standard. And prior to that, I cannot address the ways in which the statistics were counted. So we're counting actual apples versus apples. Any other questions regarding statistics or use of the library before we move on to buildings and grounds? All right. First thing I wanted to bring to your attention is Embry Elevator, our elevator contractor, a vendor to DPS and facilities, the attention that our elevator operational components would be out of code compliance as of January 1. They informed Mike of this, I want to say Octoberish. So DPS jumped on this and work through the process. And do we know if the funding has been officially approved? I know that
I was gonna look it up, I think.
okay. But the vendor for the repair has been identified, went through the bidding process, and as of the beginning of December, got a notification from Wayne Amaral that the window of time in which the vendor, which is Embry Elevators, will be could potentially start the project is 3 months or 90 days. So anytime before the beginning of March, the elevator will undergo its retrofit and component switch out and bring it back to code compliance. Because this project will have been permitted before January 1st, we will not lose use of the elevator while we wait for the repair to take place. The repair is going to take 5+ weeks. And in that time, the library will be without use of the elevator for 5 weeks.
What are you gonna do?
Oh, wait. Filling our thumbs with our hands under our legs. We've started, yeah. No, we've started like an actual planning process for this. We're kind of at the point now where we're addressing all of what are the needs that we need to address in terms of internal operations, in terms of service delivery, and also in terms of marketing and referral, because we know that even if we provide rudimentary access to some of the services that are available on the second and third floor, people are going to come in and go, "You got one computer that I can use? Where else can I go?" Salisbury, Amesbury, Raleigh, etc. So we are trying to anticipate as many of the services that we will need to refer people to. Also, we're going to be doing a very robust marketing of, look, our elevator is going, from this date to this date, our elevator is going to be not available. We are going to provide the following services. And if, just so you know, Salisbury's, 10 minutes away. Amesbury's 10 minutes away. Rowley is 10 minutes away. They provide all of these services and access if you can't use stairs.
What about food carts?
We're also going to be developing a system in place to do our internal operations as best we can. I can't say as to exactly what we're going to be doing at the moment, because once we're going to develop working groups to solve these problems. I was told that prior to the renovation, there was no elevator in this building, and there were books on the second and third floors that pages had to bring up to the various, so it's not that it hasn't been done before.
Time for high school students who need community service time.
Yeah, so yeah, that's, so I don't have the answers right now, but before the elevator goes out of commission, we're going to have plans for how to get books up to the second and third floors. How we're going to provide services to people who can't go up to the second or third floor. How do we do book processing because the technical services is on the second floor? All of these different things, we're going to be working through all of them and have a good plan. And even with the best plans, 5 weeks without an elevator is not going to be fun. It will not be It won't be one of the times we look back and go, gee, that was a fabulous time. But we'll be able to work through it because we didn't just sit here and go, oh,
Can you, like, change for like bins and stuff, can you say, well, we pass? Like, can you sort of lower the bulk?
we
by-
can reduce the number of deliveries, but unfortunately, it's not going to reduce the number of books that come in or out. It's just, you know, people, I mean, we will lose service. I mean, we will lose numbers coming in the door. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Because if
I
you,
just hope
you're,
they lose, like, staff.
well, we did training on how to lift items.
Great,
So
good.
we're going to be utilizing the training that we got in order to safely lift items. Yes,
Everybody's gonna be more physical.
ex-
Absolutely.
exactly. We're gonna get our steps in, our weight training in. Yeah, Anna's gonna be buff. Yeah, watch out, Bob. There you go.
What are they gonna do? It's taking 5 years.
Yeah.
I wish I completely understood the process. I know is Mike showed me the mechanism that controls the elevator, and it looks like something out of a steampunk novel. You know, it's like these little devices that you in and out, and when the elevator goes, all of a sudden you hear this, you know, and it's like that whole board back in 1999 was in code. And I won't the latest technology, but it was new 25 years ago. So you know, because there are times when the elevator will stop doing something, and Mike will go in there and just go, just pop something back in place that popped out. So he was explaining this all to me, and I'm just kind of like going, okay. But when it's all said and done, the elevator will be code compliant. This is not an upgrade of the elevator in terms of it will be faster. But you know, the doors, all the sensors will be, you know, we've had sensors replaced, which is not cheap. But so all of our sensors are working. This will just make sure. One of the code issues is elevators go through. Doesn't matter how many floors your elevator is on, has to go. Code requires that there be a mechanism to prevent it from falling. So this code is the same code for buildings with 30, 40, 50 floors to R4. So it's definitely not money that the city was expecting to expend. The project is at about 145. Yeah, I'm sorry, how much?
140.
Yeah, 100. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it needed to be done. I guess there was some change in the state elevator regulations a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, and this elevator was within year.
Yeah.
It was built within the time period covered by this regulation.
So. We'll
I'm
work
sure
through it.
it's under regulatory communication to the public.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yes. Because we want to make sure that people are fully aware that starting on a particular day, we will have rudimentary services if you can't use the stairs. Yeah. There'll be, I imagine I'll be spending a lot of time in the lobby, talking with patrons and reassuring them that this was not by choice. It was, you want an elevator, we had to do this.
Using this room for.
Yes, this room, the activity room, the children's room, for a variety of different functions. From, you know, staging areas for deliveries, processing, all sorts of operations.
This room will be able to be.
Yeah, we'll have to use it for internal, internal library operations. I'm hoping it takes less than 5 weeks too. Any other questions about the elevator? Let's see. Quickly, I'm going to just give you an update of the HVAC assessment. They had Rimkus, the company I told you about last month. They came in and did their first site visit. Did a lot of testing with Viking Controls, who does a lot of our kind of computerized system monitoring and software. They focused on the heating components because it's wintertime. We had already done the transition from the cooling to the heating, so they weren't able to evaluate the cooling aspects. They're coming back in March to do the cooling aspects, because that's around the time that the turnover occurs, and we move from the heating to the cooling. But I think they're going to be able to do some aspects of it in March. They can't push it to May because they're trying to get the paperwork ready for the budget talks and so they're going to do their best to be able to balance. This past week, Rimkus did a feedback session with staff to get the impact of the climate control impact on staff and patron comfort, as well as impact on operations. This was a very valuable meeting because it illustrated failures in the system, where from pretty much from June through September, Jessica has to relocate because her office is well over 80 degrees. And that's the entire third floor. So the system is failing in multiple aspects. So the staff was able to talk about, there was a component in the vestibule that used to heat the air when people walked in, so that when they continued walking through the command, well, that component doesn't work anymore. Well, we need the ventilation part of it is, in certain parts of the year, the children's room is extremely stuffy because it's not able to pull the air out. So these conversations are helping Rimkus to address, confirm some of their testing numbers and assessments, as well as identify areas that they may have to look at in addition to what they've already looked at. So the assessment is very thorough. I'm very pleased with what they're doing, and like I said, hoping that we're going to get a very robust report about not only what the system is doing or not doing, but also recommendations for kind of tiering replacements of different components, as well as recommendations of the components to replace them with. Any questions? I have good news about the sump pump. Last week, Weston Sampson came and installed the new control panel and the attenuators in the well. I got a happy text from John Hewitt, who is one of our TPS custodians. He texted me on Sunday afternoon going, "Hey, I can now know how much water's in the well." It's like, thanks. But it's a complete departure from what the system wasn't able to tell them. It's giving them a lot more information, and is, again, all the components are state of the art, and Also, I had an opportunity to discuss with the Weston Sampson folks the importance of the system working. I said, right behind this wall, right next to you, is archives. Irreplaceable material. We can't have flooding of the sump pump. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize that that was right behind this wall. And so they're well aware of the importance of this system functioning. Currently, the investigation of diverting the wastewater from the sump pump or to those that could be gravity fed is on hold while we wait to see if the current system that has now been installed is doing what it needs to do and keeping everything well monitored. I'm still keeping that project on the back burner, just in the back of my mind that to address it when I feel it's appropriate. But right now, everything is working the way it's supposed to. To answer, I think, Steve, you asked the question of who besides Mike gets the alerts. I think Kevin Lewis gets them. John Kerry gets them. Pretty much. Kevin Lewis is he's in charge of the wastewater treatment in the city, and his water treatment sump pumps are like hundreds of times larger than what this is. But what we have there is now a replicate of the systems around the city. So he gets the call. John Kerry, who is he's the assistant to Wayne Amaral, who is the head of DPS, as well as Mike. So there's a group of people who are getting the alerts. So if Mike is on vacation or somebody doesn't get the alert, other people are getting an alert, and they are qualified to be able to handle the situation.
So EPS still coming in once a week, looking in there, making sure it's working,
they're still monitoring the situation, but they don't have to do. They're not doing the force flooding that they were doing to make the system set off the alarm, because the new system is actually doing that. It's doing its job.
it's still working.
I still worry too. But at least it's been installed. We're not relying on the old inflated floats and an outdated mechanical control system where little levers would go up and down, depending on what the system needed to do. It's all digital. Okay, given that it is 6:30, I'm going to let's see. I'm going to kind of give overall information about our outreach, collaborations, and programming. If you have any questions about any of our new collaborators and or efforts, I'll be happy to elaborate. But in November, we had 5 outreach events, and we reached 120 patrons, or 120 residents. And we're, that's still falling within the average for this year in terms of outreach events is still higher than last year. And the number of people we're hitting is higher than last year on average. This month, we had 68 programs. The FY25 average is 58 programs. We had a total of 910 attendees, and the average for FY25 is 917. Teen programming is still maintaining its consistent following and the same numbers as they have. I just wanted, which again, for teen programming, that's outstanding. So I just want to let you know that that is still continuing. Any questions about outreach and programming before I move on to policy? The one policy that I am working on is the Safe Child policy. It's to replace the unattended child policy. We have I guess, the final draft that has been a collaborative effort of both internal and external stakeholders. Great feedback. I think we've developed a really good, safe child policy. What I'm just waiting to do right now is I'll be sending it out to the external stakeholders for one last kind of run through, which are 3 board members and the police marshal and the head of Newburyport Rec and Youth Services. They all provided great feedback on the first draft, and I want to say that the staff provided really great feedback on the second and third draft. My goal and expectation is that I will have a draft ready for all of you to review at the January meeting. Any questions? I guess you'll have plenty of questions in January. Okay, moving on to the volunteer program. Had a request to add a home delivery volunteer position for consideration by the union. Steve came and wondered if, based on some of the discussion last month of, I guess, the wait list situation, he thought maybe it might be good to add volunteers to help alleviate the wait list. Doing a deeper dive to understand, I recognized that, well, there really was no wait list of people waiting for services. It was 2 people who were non-responsive who had requested but non-responsive. So it wasn't a wait list, it was a non-response list. But we still looked at, at the possibility. I learned about what actually happens on a home delivery visit. There is the library staff, they conduct a reader's advisory interview with the person that they're visiting, talking about what, they want to read next, trying to help them define what the library can get for them. That is part of the staff librarian job description and part of a union task. Also, the staff that go, they conduct circulation functions. They will talk about what the person has yet to return, as well as what they will potentially have on hold. There are potentially privacy issues with regards to non-staff members having access to what people are checked out, what's on their records, etc. So there's got a union task as well as a privacy issue. What I also felt was something that is important is that because they're visiting a member of a vulnerable population, the person has to have a and right now we should have 32 hours if our volunteers are providing a committed schedule to providing the tasks that they do. We have an average of 16 to 17 hours being completed. So the volunteer would have to commit to a dedicated service to establish and maintain that relationship. You can't just have anybody coming up to, homebound people. There's a relationship that needs to be established for their comfortability, for their safety. They may not open the door for you if they don't know who you are. So there's that aspect. And then finally, I have a request for into HR regarding liability. If someone is going to be volunteering their time and effort, I want to make sure that if something happens to them, they are covered by the city's liability insurance. Whether they're in their, because they would be in their own personal vehicles. We do not have a library vehicle. So there are issues with, if they get into an accident while in the process of performing this task, does it cover that? So I want to make sure that is a big stumbling block to having volunteers performing these functions. So as it stands, as the program exists now, for the first 3 reasons I gave you, it would be very difficult to integrate a volunteer into this position because of the way in which our policy is written, and are respecting the obligations to the union contract with regards to union tasks. So, any questions?
7 hours, 17 hours, but must a volunteer.
No, it's
All of the volunteers
all the volunteers came and we would be having 32 hours of volunteer per month. As it is, we get 16 hours from those 8 volunteers. So the nature of their understanding is, and we respect that, I'm going to visit my friend, I'm not coming in. I'm going on vacation, I'm not coming in. I've decided I want to go to lunch with my friend, I'm not coming in.
Which is fine. I
Which is
want to be
fine.
very clear that
Yes.
this is actually okay. And
That's
we
fine.
can adjust because it's just shelving.
Right.
Sorry for jumping in.
So,
Okay.
but that's,
Okay.
that's fine because that's the nature of the volunteer relationship we have with our volunteers. But when you're talking about someone who visits someone on a regular basis, and this is what the staff do, they've established relationships with this vulnerable population. That person knows Nicole and knows her by sight, knows her, welcomes Nicole into her house, welcomes Flora into her house, welcomes Emma into her house. If we had a volunteer doing that same function and they decided to go to lunch with their friend, which is understandable and not a judgment, it's just we would have to have someone new engage in that process. And again,
It would be a staff member and it would
Yeah.
be very difficult to be able to adapt on a regular basis in that capacity.
so that's a stumbling block.
Each home visit, okay.
3 hours.
3 hours.
Oh, no, I mean, well.
Oh, each
yeah,
individual
sorry.
one?
Yeah,
No, about 20 minutes,
Yeah.
if not more. You're in there a while. The person wants to talk about the books. They don't leave their house, or sometimes they're
Yeah.
small apartments. And so they want to tell you things and show you videos and tell you stories.
Yeah.
They're very nice.
so there's a lot going on. It's not something that drop off. So. It was a good, thank you for asking because I learned something. I learned something that I thought I understood, but I really didn't completely understand. So.
Like when the elevator's down, you can come out more home.
Yeah. Yes.
Little gym and.
Exactly.
1-on-1 floor. I mean, throw the books up like water for a fire.
For something that we're continuing in the development process of what a part of the volunteer program is the Teen Advisory Board. It's a slower process. They're trying to get teens involved. The planned start for the Teen Advisory Board as of now is the beginning of February. And this will be a group of about 5 to 6 teens doing that, that aspect of volunteering. So we're looking forward to that.
Whenever you want to be done. I love this.
All right. If you're okay, I can move on to just gloss over the calendar so you're aware of. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. In November, we were closed for the Thanksgiving Day weekend from November 30th or 28th through 30th. And then we had a modified schedule on December 12th in early closure so the staff could attend the Newburyport Employee Winter Party. Upcoming, excuse me, the Christmas holiday closure. The mayor has granted city employees the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th as a paid holiday. So we'll be closed those 3 days. And then we'll be closed on New Year's Day, January 1st. Just a quick update on the mission statement project. Had a discussion with Barbara Leveris, and I just wanted to, she sent her proposal for the project, considering the amount of time she's going to be spending and what she's going to be doing. A very reasonable cost. But what it's going to consist of is 2 90-minute facilitated sessions where a group of up to 10 participants and the same participants that they'll participate in both meetings. She said a breakdown would be up to 4 board members, up to 4 staff members, and then library administration. So for board participants, I highly recommend those who had expressed a lot of interest in the mission statement development process or developing a new mission statement I'm going to throw out the invitation to the entire board, but those who really wanted to participate in that, please contact me and let me know, and I will put, you will be part of that process. We're keeping it to 4, so we do not have to, the meetings will not be considered open meetings. They will be internal meetings. What she's going to do is in each meeting, she's going to go through, she's going to walk everyone through some exercises, some brainstorming exercises, and kind of filtering processes, and come up with hopefully a selection of up to, I think, 3 or 4 potential mission statements that the board can then select from as the new mission statement. So this is, it will, her expectation is that you will have the potential mission statements to review and potentially approve in May. And we begin the process sometime. Regarding what got discussed.
Have one comment that we don't need to dwell on, but the library closing early on the day before Thanksgiving, which was at that moment. Fine for the staff, but from a patron point of view, not well thought out.
Unfortunately,
I get that, but you might want to get work from a patron point of view. I was planning on coming to Wednesday night and movie night. When I arrived here, I was closed. I'm not happy. And he needs to think of that.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, we can slow ahead of time.
Good call.
I will, when I see him this week, he's gonna stop by, I will let him know that your feedback.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn? Everybody in favor? Everybody opposed?
Only in more.
I guess you were gonna have this time.
You jumped in there, you thought I was on it.
I sometimes make little bets with myself. Who's gonna do it first?
Why in my head it was like 5:30. But now it's 6, so that'll be it.
You know.
Yeah, I read the email, but I don't know.
Yeah.